Alright guys, 2024 is officially over for ninja shows as Sasuke 42 came out on Christmas Day. Merry belated Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy holidays everybody. I just love getting to debate you guys. You know, you guys typically jump in my comment sections or hit me up on Discord saying like, oh, Kane doesn't like Sasuke. Kane's a Sasuke hater. Honestly, Sasuke 42 wasn't that bad. There are a lot of things I liked about this tournament. Actually, more things that I liked than disliked. I'm gonna jump straight into the highlight. My favorite portion of the tournament by far was stage 2. They cut the time limit down by 5 seconds. The rolling log was a menace. There was a bit of rain, so it took out a lot of people. It led to some big shocks, and thankfully cut down how many people were going on to stage 3. And you had some high shock value. Caillou Nagano failing the rolling log for the second time in a row, definitely not expected. Losing Jun Sato's stage 2 streak because of the rolling log, wild. Olivia Vivian, I definitely did not expect to see her go down on the rolling log. And while I'm not a huge fan of the giant digest of runs at the end, I kind of understand. We'll get to that in a second. But all in all, stage 2 was the perfect storm of chaos. You know, it was like the chaoticness of Sasuke 37, but on a course that actually functions, so it was better. Stage 3 and the final stage were honestly pretty legit. The swing edge modification turned out to actually be dangerous to people, which I really enjoyed. Of course, you have the historic run of Yuta Nakashima being the youngest athlete on Sasuke to ever make it to stage 3. We had the shocking falls of Keitaro Yamamoto, Yoshiyuki Yamamoto, and Yusuke Morimoto. The surprises with Ilion Sharif and Tada Tatsuya making it further than they ever have on this version of stage 3. And of course, the highlight of stage 3, Ryosuke Miyaoka beating the vertical limit burst and advancing to the final. His final stage attempt was a little iffy, but at least he didn't mess up the Jugodan. So honestly, there's a lot of positives to take away from the final 3 stages. My big problem is with stage 1. I've been saying this for years now. Stage 1 needs more of a change than stage 2 does. Stage 1 is just too easy and or too repetitive to where it's just, oh. Jumping right into the new stuff on stage 1, Screwdriver was a thing, and Screwdriver I think is a pretty decent obstacle. It just was a little too easy for my liking. I wasn't expecting this to be a major ninja killer by any means. It is the 3rd obstacle after all, but it did less damage than something like the wing slider, which was in that 3rd spot. The rolling hill I think also just needs to go. While it is still taking out some of the comedians and other celebrities, there's also some celebrities and whatnot that are just walking through the rolling hill, and it leads to us having to mid-cut to them, and they spent a minute on those first 2 obstacles, and Inui feels like he has to jump to them to give them screen time, even though their runs are slow and boring. I'd rather us have a second obstacle that's quicker and more likely to take people out, so that way we can keep the ball rolling throughout the tournament. Funny enough, I wasn't a fan of Twin Daya last tournament, but this time around, it was probably my favorite obstacle on stage 1 because every time someone fell, it looked like a faceplant. It looked painful. Funny fails in Sasuke. Let's bring it back, people. And while I respect the decision to add that extra section of the fishbone in order to prevent arrest there, it didn't do anything. Jun Sato still bunny hopped it, for crying out loud. So because it's so repetitive and people are able to lock in more and people know what to expect more on this stage, you know, it just wasn't entertaining and it went on for way too long. This stage 1 was over 3 hours, leaving with advertisements like an hour and a half for stages 2 and 3 and the final, which just isn't enough time. Now, part of it is because this course is so the same every year that more and more people will clear it every year. And while I am happy to see people like Kano, my favorite member of the Shinsekai, and Shunsuke actually clear the first stage again, as well as seeing people from the Sasuke trials actually do well and move on to the second stage, 28 clears is too many. Because when you have to fit in 28 finishers with the other 20 to 30 celebrities that Inui knows he has to show in order to keep the ratings up, you get a 3-hour, not mess, but it's just a lot going on. There's not too much flow into it, and you feel like you're only watching half of each person's run. And I guess, once again, it's going to be a pacing issue for me with Sasuke, because the results were pretty fine. Even with the overwhelming success on stage 1, you did have some surprises. Definitely unfortunate that Kane-Kosugi lost his stage 1 streak. It was awesome to see Bunpei Shiratori back, even if his run didn't last very long. Same goes for Yuko Mizuno. Kind of expected Ayano to get further in stage 1. So again, it's not like the results were like bad, because I quite enjoyed the highs and lows of stage 1 from a results standpoint. But it was definitely a bummer seeing half of someone's run and then a digest of 4 people and then half of someone else's run and then a full run that gets interrupted by an ad break, and then you come back to the ad break, you finish that run, you get half of someone else's run, and it just repeats itself. From a practicality standpoint, I understand it. I'm definitely watching the Paravi cut now that I have access to it, so that way I can watch everything in full that I wanted to watch. But I shouldn't need a Paravi cut to really enjoy the major players' runs in full. And because there's just too much going on stage 1, there's 2 things that they can do. Start skipping more people or buff your course so that way it takes out more people. You don't have to worry about showing every single clear. You can show your celebrities with the fewer amount of clears and have a balanced layout for stage 1. Because stages 2, 3, and the final were infinitely more interesting in my opinion from a results standpoint, from an entertainment standpoint, and they just had more moments there. But we barely got to see those moments because stage 1 took up so much screen time. Stage 2 actually did its job this tournament, cutting the field almost in half. And honestly, I think I would have liked to have seen that. The same goes for stage 3 because it wasn't a massacre on the dimension the way it was last tournament. You had a surprising fall on the Sidewinder, quite a bit of falls on the new Swing Edge modification. You of course did have your dimension falls, you had some burst falls, and you had a clear. And back in the day, that stage 3 would have been shown in all of its glory. At the end of the day though, what I did see from all 4 stages in terms of the highlights, they were definitely highlights. Whether it was a breakout, a shock fail, a cool moment, a one-handed save on the Swing Edge or something like that, you know, they were cool and they got their flowers, they got their spotlight. I just want a tiny bit more next tournament. But overall, I thought Sasuke 42 was pretty enjoyable. It's definitely not perfect, but very few Sasuke tournaments are nowadays, and in terms of what I've gotten in this modern era, I enjoyed this one more than most of the modern Sasuke tournaments. But that is going to do it for Sasuke 42's review. Be sure to tune in December 31st where I rank Sasuke with every other ninja show that came out in 2024. Be sure to comment below what your favorite modern Sasuke tournament is, and until next time, I'll see you with my next video in the marathon. Peace!